Morning everyone, if you are watching, we are on our pre-drive drive, quickly just checking our syncs and making sure that our mics and everything's working, and we're heading out seeing what we can find so long before we start our drive. Brian is on camera, but I'm not going to introduce the thumb just yet. Or would you like to?
Hello. Hello everyone. The thumb will come on the show.
On the show, exactly. He's a bit of a celebrity. He doesn't do pre-drive drive. We had a bit of rain last night, everyone, which was quite nice. Cooled things down a bit. Not much, just a bit of drizzle. I could hear it this morning about 1 o'clock or so. And we got an update from some viewers of lions calling. Well, they said they heard buffalo distress calls coming from east of Jumapan. Hang on a second, we've got James on the radio. Go ahead, James. Okay, copy, thank you. I'll be approaching that area shortly. As we drove, copy. So as we drove out of camp, we heard a male lion calling, and we did get a glimpse of him, but he's walked. Copy. I'll probably be there in 2 minutes. And anyway, so we did get a glimpse of this male, and he walked through down between the two camps. So we're just trying to see if we can find him again. There's still a very dead smell here, hey Brian?
Yeah, it's horrible.
I wonder, there's been a lot of carcasses around, everyone, and every so often we drive through areas and you can smell this carcass. There must be a buffalo around here somewhere, a dead buffalo. But this has been here for a while. That's a strong smell.
Horrible.
Yeah. These early mornings are great. They're very early, but they are great. I mean, we're now half an hour earlier. Oh. Brian, guests always used to ask me, oh, you must get used to the early mornings and getting up, and never get used to the early mornings.
Don't be fooled. These mornings are super early.
Yeah, 4 a.m. wake-ups for us, most of us.
Brutal.
It is brutal, but we do have long days then where we get to relax a bit and copy, Roger, copy. Yes, yes. Oh. Whoa. I think let us wait here. So it sounds like James can see the male lion, and I think he is going to start the show. So I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll see you just now. But James is going to start the show.
Just now.
Favoritism.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody. It's a grey dawn here in the northeast corner of South Africa. That is a beautiful male lion. My name is James Hendry and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Everybody, there is a male lion now. He's sitting at the Djuma Dam, of course, and there were some buffalo distress calls. That was from Lucy and Chris Rowe. You heard them from the dam cam. So he has quite possibly just come from a kill site. Byron is that side of the dam. We can't go around there right now because the rain has, well, it's sort of scuffed up the wall and we don't want to destroy it further. So Byron and his good friend Brian, try and say that early in the morning, they're going to be looking for the lion kill there. David and I, good morning, David.
Good morning, James.
There we are. David and I are going to go down towards where Karula was yesterday. She was on the southern boundary, and with any luck, we'll spend some time with her, our favourite 12-year-old female leopard, the Queen of Djuma, and her two little cubs, Shongile and Hosana. So that will be the plan this morning. We are, of course, completely live. If you've not been with us before, you're most welcome especially. And if you're wondering who this person is waffling away at you, remember you are on a live safari, which means you can talk to us, #Safari Live, questions at wildearth.tv. And for the next 3 hours, you will be in our company, I hope. And it'll be lovely to hear from you, especially if you are, in fact, a new viewer. Because, of course, the viewers, the most important part of what we do, it would be no fun at all talking sort of blindly into this camera, knowing that there was no one on the other end. Okay, we're going to head south now. Byron's going to move into the sighting and try and get a look at the lion, and we'll press on and see what else we can see down in the south. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to let you listen. He's moved away from the water, but we can hear him calling. There he is, everyone. Look at him listening, and look how fat his belly is. He's definitely eaten. He's got gore on his shoulder. He's got gore on the front of his mane. So the buffalo that was distress calling last night, I suspect a fairly substantial proportion of it is in that fat lion belly. Brilliant. Now he's heading, I think, straight towards where Byron is. So let's head away from here. And Byron will hopefully rejoin with the lion shortly. Okay. It's a good way to start the morning. It's always nice to be spoken to by a lion at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yes, everybody, that is correct. No matter where you are in the world, it's still 5 o'clock in the morning here. That is very early indeed. David, what time did you wake up today?
4 o'clock.
You woke up at 4 o'clock. I mean, that's almost night time, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Before we head on to Karula, let's see if we can find what Mr. and Mrs. Wahlbergs are doing. And, I mean, I imagine by now they must be pretty close to having a chick. I remember we watched them mating probably about 2 months ago now. And I think they lay the eggs a couple of days after that. And then I think it's a 28-day incubation period. Right, they're just, Dave, if you wouldn't mind getting into the middle of the tree there. Yeah. I think there we go. You can just see a feather sticking out. Not the best picture of a Wahlberg's eagle, but in a little while we'll have little Wahlberg's chicks. Let's head straight across to Byron and find out what he's going to be doing with that lion this morning.
Can you see where it is? Morning everybody, my name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Brian and the Thumb, and we are in search of lions and the rest of the pride. Sorry, I think I had an issue with my earpiece there. It should be working now. So we were very fortunate. We got to find that male lion early this morning. As we drove out of camp, he was roaring, and he walked down towards the Djuma Dam. We've come around the other side. I know James got to see him earlier, which is really, really great, and he called for us again. But I see tracks of the rest of the pride along this road. So I'm going to see if I can find the pride. We did get reports from some viewers that they said they heard buffalo alarm calls or distress calls. So we're going to have a look. We'll look around and see. Hopefully we get to find the rest of the pride. Maybe they've hunted something again. So I'm just going to check very carefully here, everyone. Yeah, I can see the lion tracks. They're heading straight down this road. We're on Central Road at the moment. So let's scan very, very carefully. We had a bit of rain last night, which was nice, softened the soil a little bit. Not much, just a bit of a light drizzle. But we had such a fantastic afternoon yesterday, afternoon and evening. It really was great. Okay, there are lots of impala here. So let's see. Alright, I see some tracks heading in this direction, everyone. Looks like something had run over here. Just scan and look carefully. So this is the tricky part, where you're starting to scan, look around, and make sure you head in the right direction when you're looking for animals, especially these lions and their tracks. And it's a bit easier when you've got somebody on the front of the vehicle, a tracker, that can see the tracks a lot better than you can. See, I've unfortunately got to drive off the road just to try and have a good look. Otherwise I may miss it on the left hand side. Let's just drive up here a little bit and scan around. I mean, these lions have been wandering down into the drainage line. X-Ranger is saying our cat streak is day 57. That's incredible. Absolutely amazing for big cats. 57 days of cats. Of big cats. That's very, very lucky. Wow. I don't see any more tracks here. So I wonder if they hadn't crossed down into the drainage line. See, the thing is, you've got to check these areas very carefully, and because these animals can move all over the place. Especially if they're running and they're chasing something, they could run down into the drainage line. And I always try to check a little bit further than I think, or a little bit further than I think they would be, because you don't want to drive around and miss something where you were literally maybe 100 meters from them and you decide to turn around. So I always just go a little bit further, just to make sure I don't miss any tracks or tracks coming out again. No, there's definitely no fresh lion tracks, everyone. So I'm just going to turn around quickly And I think let's check on this other side of the drainage line. So we're going to head back around that way. But this is exciting. This is very exciting because we've got an idea that there was possibly some alarm calls or distress calls. Some of our viewers heard it probably from the dam cam, which is great, and they think it came from this area. But the sound in the bush is always very tricky to identify or pinpoint where that sound is coming from. So we're having a good look around. They could also have missed it. Maybe they tried to hunt and missed, but if it's a proper distress call, they usually have got the buffalo. But we know that when those buffalo do distress call, the rest of the herd will often turn around, come back and help the buffalo that is in danger or that is in trouble. So let us see. Leilani would like to know, do I have a favorite type of sighting in the morning? Predator or prey? Leilani, to tell you the truth, sorry, I just want to double check here quickly. Leilani, there is nothing better than a male lion calling and that roar in the morning. It is just incredible. It has to be by far my favorite. It is amazing. Such a loud sound. It's just incredible. It goes right through you. All right, we're going to have a look around this area quickly. James has got a large bird of prey that he'd like to show you.
It's not a very large bird of prey, everyone. In fact, I quite like the Wahlberg's eagle because, well, it's a little bit like me, you know. It's not the biggest of the predators, but it's got a certain je ne sais quoi, if you like. And you can see there that this is a completely chocolate Wahlberg. And so what I call this pair, and they always come back to this nest, is the Mr. and Mrs. Chocolate Wahlberg. And back up at the top there, those two pale form ones are the ones in the first nest that we saw. And this chap was just calling quite nicely, so let's just see if he or she will do it again. If you see them sitting next to each other, the female is slightly bigger than the male. So that's the way you'd tell, but from here, no, I couldn't tell whether that was a female or a male. Except you see, David, there is that little bit of scruffy feather there on the left,
Yes.
indicating that it's probably the male. Hello, Wolfgang. You're in Sweden and you ask a fairly astounding question. You say, do I think that a bird could ever be afraid of heights? Well, there are two answers to that. Firstly, yes, I think that an ostrich, a kiwi, and a number of other flightless birds, were you to toss them out of a plane on a mini parachute, or in the case of an ostrich, a human-sized parachute, I imagine they'd be absolutely terrified out of their wits. The second part of that is to say that if a bird that was flying was afraid of heights, it wouldn't be a very effective bird and would probably pass on into the next life rather sooner than many of the other birds here. So I'm assuming you ask that question slightly tongue-in-cheek. I'd say a flightless bird, yes, terrified of heights. I'd say any bird that wanted to fly and survive. Were it to be afraid of heights, it would have to get over it very quickly, or unfortunately it just wouldn't eat. Nice one there for the beginning of the morning. Thank you, Wolfgang. Right, let's move on from Mr. and Mrs. Chocolate W. I think that's why that one's shouting. It probably is the male shouting about the fact that his wife has deserted him at this so early in the morning. Him to look after the kids, which he thinks is very unfair. The kids at this stage probably just two little eggs. One egg, sorry, they lay one egg. Very seldom two. Right, we're approaching Twin Dams now, and we had some rain last night, I'm told. I, unfortunately, did not wake at all, but Byron came bustling into my room early this morning to tell me that there had been rain. I, of course, sent him out as fast as he came in, because in the morning I like to have my coffee in silence, and, you know, Byron is very exuberant in the morning. One needs to awaken to him slowly. The point of that story, everyone, I've forgotten what it was. The point of that story is to say that there's now water, standing water in puddles all over the place, which means that very few animals, unless it gets hot, which it isn't yet, but it might get hot today, unless it gets hot, animals are going to be drinking from those puddles, much more so than they will be from dams like Twin Dams. Okay, we're approaching the southern boundary. The southern boundary, of course, for those of you who are new viewers, is a boundary that we can't cross, but animals are free to come and go as they please, clearly. And we hope that Karula has not taken that freedom too much to heart. There's an elephant over there, and that she will have remained here. There is an elephant quite close to where she was, also facing south. We'll just pop down through the dip here, and with any luck, we will have an elephant sighting. Yesterday we had a wonderful time, Brian and I. We came down through this dip and we heard the guinea fowl alarm calling, and in sort of textbook fashion we drove up and bang, there was Karula and the two cubs, and they headed towards the kill to which we are going to go now. Karula, for those of you who are confused about who this is, a 12-year-old female leopard, our favorite. David, there is a woolly-necked stork, if you can believe it. There's so much action, it's difficult to know where to look. You see his woolly neck, David. That's why he's called a woolly-necked stork. That was very nicely filmed, David, for this early in the morning, yes. I see you've put your jacket on. David didn't want to put his jacket on, everybody. He was showing us how tough he is this morning. It is 21 degrees Celsius, apparently, 69 Fahrenheit. It feels a little chillier than that, though. I, of course, being not tough like David, put mine on immediately. We'll just nip round the corner here. The elephant is standing in the middle of the road, not too far from where Karula was. Ah. Hello, Leilani. What a nice thing to hear. You say you've been watching for 2 weeks now, and you're going to start your bird list today, and Mr. Wahlberg and Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg are going to be your first birds. I think that's fantastic. This elephant is creating a problem. He has pushed over a marula tree, except I don't know that an elephant that size could have pushed over a marula tree. I wonder if it didn't get blown over. No, he would definitely have pushed it over. Slowly move up towards him. I say him because he seems to be on his own and is therefore most likely to be a bull. Leilani, you must also put, of course, woolly-necked stork as bird number 2. Now, there's something very interesting about this here. I'm just going to park where I hope we can get a decent view of him. I'm sorry, David, it's not the best view in the world. We'll just let him get used to us, and then I'm sure he'll let us get close. Here we are. Alright, now what we don't want to do, everybody, is give him a fright. So we'll just talk very soothingly, like this. Now this, interestingly, is a marula tree. It's quite big, for I would have thought for an elephant this size to have pushed over, but I'm not sure what else could have happened. And what is interesting is that it's a marula tree. Now they will browse on marula leaves, which is exactly what he's doing. But I have a theory that elephants know which are male marula trees and which are female marula trees. and they don't push the females over, and they also take less bark from the females because they know that those are the ones that produce their fruit. And if I look around here, you can tell if you're exceptionally clever, you can tell from looking at the edges of the branches whether it's a male or female tree. I have yet to manage to do that. But you can tell if it's male or female by looking around the base to see if there are any pips from the fruit. I don't see any right now, so I'm going to, at this stage, use this example to corroborate my theory and say that this is a male tree that he's pushed over. This tree, of course, is not going to survive this encounter with the elephant. It wasn't very clever of you, elephant. There are many other things to eat. And this, of course, one of the huge reasons I think that this area was once much more open than it is. Elephants push a lot of trees over. Is that a wonderful shot? That's fantastic, David. Look at that. David, fast as anything this morning, artistic. Yeah, really on the money today. So what I was saying is that they push over a lot of trees, of course, but for many years, up until about 1996, their numbers were severely controlled in the Kruger Park, not on a scientific basis. And I think you'll find that many, many moons ago, before the advent of the white man in this area and his guns, I think you will find that there were many more elephants than there are now. And I think that would have meant that the landscape was a lot more open. Now, Karula is not far from here, only probably, well, this is if she's still here, probably about 200 meters or 100 meters. In fact, I can see the tree. I'm just going to look. The tree under which she was yesterday. No, I don't see her yet. Right, we're now going to try and get around this fellow. I just want to get to the leopard before the rest of the game drives become too enthusiastic about getting mobile. So let's see if we can sneak round here without causing him too much consternation. He's being particularly confiding with us, which is very nice of him. I think we're going to make a bit of a noise here. We might just have to wait till he moves off. All right, while we try and do this, get to the leopard, let's head to Byron and find out how that lion tracking is going.
The line tracking's not going well just yet, James. I've got their tracks here, but I can't see which direction they've gone. Just trying to have a look. Oh, just want to see that male has moved out of the dam. I can hear him. Sounds like he's coming closer towards us. Let's just see. If we're lucky, he might take us. There he is. Okay, let's go. Okay, so we've got this male at least. So let's stick. Hang on. Did I just see something there? Sometimes your eyes play tricks on you. Some impala through the bush. That's what those are over there. I think let's sit with this male for a bit because he's been calling. It would be wonderful to get you to hear that roar. And if we're lucky, maybe he takes us to the rest of the pride. You know, they do tend to know where each other are at times. Right there, Brian, is that good? Oh, look at that. John, Afschön. This is great. This is really, really fantastic. We've got some guests who are keen photographers here at the moment on the vehicle. So they're getting some great pictures. But look at him. Oh, that is really, really beautiful. And I'm hoping that he calls again for us. And that all that communicating, all that roaring is basically to find out, for one, it's a territorial call. And I think this male is also using it to try and locate the rest of the pride. Find out where the Nkuhumas have gone. Where are they? Have they got food? That's probably what this male is interested in. See how he's looking around and he's listening. There's some impala that have been alarm calling, the ones that we saw. And they've stopped now. There you can just hear the snorts, I think, every now and then. Hang on, everybody, here he comes. If he does walk past us, I'm just going to stop talking, and I think he is going to. Oh, look at that. That was fantastic. Really, really close to us, right past us. Very exciting. Let's stay with him and see where he goes. He's heading to that area where I had those tracks of the rest of the pride. So maybe his tracking skills are a little bit better than mine. And he can find out where they've gone, because I cannot seem to find a direction where those lions have moved off to. I can see the tracks of the cubs, the whole pride. But I'm just not sure which way they actually went. So they're possibly in this area somewhere. Let's have a look. I'm hoping that he decides to call again for us. It's a lovely morning, nice and cool. Nice to be able to follow a male like this. Isn't this incredible? Looks almost like he's very wet around his chin and mouth and that. Oh dear, I'm in everybody's shot now. Don't want to get in the way of the other vehicle and their pictures. With photography, everyone, listen. I thought he was going to call there. So when we are following animals like this, when we're following lions and we've got other vehicles and keen photographers, always have to be mindful not just of where you position the vehicle for your guests, but also for the other guests. You don't want to get a vehicle in the shot directly behind the lion. That's not ideal, so we are very, very careful where we do position our vehicles, keeping into consideration that the people want to photograph these animals. Let's see where he's going. He's now going down into this dense thicket, and I think the Nkuhuma Pride were around here yesterday. I know they were struggling to find them at one stage. Taylor managed to find them, and I think they were in this area, and it was a bit tricky to get through there. But they were around, so perhaps they came out, tried to hunt and chase something back down in towards this drainage line. I see a little bit of water up ahead, a little pan, probably just filled up from all that rain that we had the other day, or the last 2 days we've had some rain. Yeah, looks like a little mud wallow, a little pan of water. Let's see, there were some impala around here earlier as I drove past. No sign of lions. He's scent marking as he's walking, this male. Scent marking. And he's drinking again, everyone. Isn't that incredible? I mean, he just had a drink, I know, at the dam where James was. I'm just going to move quickly. Let's try and get a shot of his face, everyone. Just give me 1 second, just before we cross over to James. I just want to show you this male leopard from this side quickly. I mean, this male lion from this side. Ah, there we go. Look at that, everyone. That is really, really beautiful. To watch him lapping up the water. And when these animals drink, they drink a lot. The reason for that is, look at that tongue. If you look closely, see it curls backwards. And that's how they lap up the water. So with that tongue curling backwards, they actually don't lap up a lot of water. So when they do drink, they'll spend a lot of time with their heads down, drinking, lapping the water up. And then after a while, they'll eventually move off. Okay, so we're going to try to stick with this male. James sounds like he's found the leopards.
Oh, that is the male. There it is, everybody. We have found little Hosanna. The others, I think, are on a termite mound just behind here. But he is playing with his food again. He likes to play with his food, this chap. And you can see those very, very sharp little claws on what was a duiker. The duiker is obviously very dead at this stage and almost finished being consumed. Look at that! You wouldn't want to get hold of him, I tell you what. This is just fantastic. Let me move my head. Sorry, everybody, I can't really move the car. We did struggle to get away from where we were before. I got us a little bit stuck. But we're out now. Oh, this is fantastic. I'm just going to quickly call in that we found these leopards. Stations relocated Karula and Cubs static, same place as last night in the drainage. There, I've done my duty. Now he is playing, but all of this play behavior, of course, hugely important because it teaches him how to move a carcass. It'll teach him the lessons he needs to know when he eventually comes to hoisting his own kills. He is a fantastic fellow. What's behind us, David? Our elephant friend. Well, that is exciting. There's our elephant, everybody. Same chap. I'm sure he can smell death here, you see. That's why he's looking a little upset. He was completely unfazed with us hacking around, trying to get around his tree that he'd pushed over. But now he knows that there's a predator here. And the predator is now lying on his food. He's just spotted the elephant. Now the elephant's coming slowly towards us. See how he looked towards his mother? You can't see his mum, but I can see his mum now. She's lying on a termite mound, really not far from here. Elephants do not like predators, especially lions. I think they probably have a sort of gentle understanding with leopards. Excuse me. But leopards have absolutely no doubt as to who's in charge, nor do lions. Isn't that fantastic? Gee whiz, what a morning we've had. Lions, leopards, elephants, leopards and elephants in the same sighting. Now he's settling down to eating a little bit. This is just truly spectacular, isn't it? I'm just keeping an eye on that elephant while you watch the leopard. I think there's another elephant in there as well. Anyway, everything's beautifully at peace, and while we sit here with the big game, of course, There are birds calling all over. Starry Night, with your poetic name, I'm not surprised in the slightest by your comment where you say each time you see these leopards, their beauty takes your breath away again. Well, I find the same kind of thing, really. Now, David, I'm going to ask you, if you... there were two little birds, everybody. Anyway, we'll scrap them for now. Let's just look at the leopard for now. The 3-3 male is what he'll be known as eventually. Well, there we go. That's interesting. Nice comment from James. Thank you very much. You say you saw Shongile trying to hoist the kill yesterday, and you've interpreted that as sort of showing signs of independence. I'm not sure it's a sign of independence. It's certainly a sign of maturity, which of course will eventually lead to independence. But she was doing the same thing again 2 days ago, wasn't she, when she was picking up that little impala fetus, and she was walking along with it exactly as she was just kind of dragging it around exactly as she will have to when she's sorry, I was a little bit arrested by the elephant making a noise behind us. Exactly as she will as an adult. So yes, I would agree. It certainly shows that she's maturing. And she doesn't play with her food like he does. And much like with human beings, of course, she will go independent before he will. She's getting on with the serious business of living. He's just enjoying the comforts of home. If you are a sensitive viewer, perhaps you find this kind of thing a little bit gruesome. I do apologize for it, but I'm afraid that is what happens at these kills. Suffice to say that Dyker doesn't feel anything anymore, does it, David? No. It hasn't felt anything for about 24 hours now. I know it can be a bit gruesome at times. And you might just be able to hear him chewing. Oh, Justin, now you're asking me to choose, and you say which of these leopard cubs is my favorite. I'm going to have to say little Hosana, of course. He's quite playful. He's a little male leopard, of course. I'm a little male human, and so we have that in common, I suppose. I don't know. He's got a lovely character. They both do, though. They're both very confiding, and it's not always like this, you know. I have been with leopard litters, with two cubs, and they grow up with entirely different personalities. Quarantine and Kunuma being an excellent example of one completely relaxed, the other basically a little bit nasty. And the same as I always remember the first two leopard cubs I ever spent time with, also two males, and born to her name at the time was the Clara female of Ngala, and her two young males behaved in an entirely different fashion. One, at one stage, he was so nasty, he jumped up onto my car, onto the tracker seat, which was a fairly terrifying experience. The other was just like Quarantine, just completely relaxed, took no notice of us whatsoever. So it's quite nice that these two, Shongile and Hosana, are completely relaxed around us, and they don't seem to be showing any signs of irritation. He's actually started to get a little bit curious, and 2 days ago he came to within a foot of the vehicle, with his mother watching, and she gave us a little hiss as if to say, "Don't you move while my boy is so close to you." Thank you for that, Justin. He's in excellent, excellent condition. This is the third kill in 3 days that Karula made. She lost, I think, both of the others to hyenas. that the hyenas haven't bothered to steal this from her. And I think this was in a tree, sort of, for a little while, until Shongile dropped it, I believe. Now we'll try and go and have a look at the others on the termite mound shortly, but we'll probably disturb him. Dana, you say you know this has been asked before. Well, Dana, you know I ask many questions many times over as my memory starts, well, it's always been fairly poor. So don't worry about it. You say, when will they become independent? We don't know for sure, but we know that the male, probably not much before 18 months. In fact, could be after that. The female, the earliest recorded time is 8 months. She's now 9 months old as of yesterday. And so it could be any time from now. But I would say she'll probably hang around for about a year and then slowly start moving away. Now, it's interesting. This is actually the first pair that I've watched. Yeah, where one's a male and one's a female. It's the first opportunity I've had to watch them go all the way to independence, which hopefully we will do here. So it'll be interesting to know if when she disperses, whether he does the same because she has, or whether he spends much more time with his mum, and I suspect it's going to be the latter. Now, when I say when she disperses, she's not, of course, going to disappear. She will just slowly start spending less and less time with Karula. She'll wander a bit further afield. Her mum will stop being that affection towards her, and then she'll start to make her own kills, and it'll all be close by, and slowly she'll kind of wedge herself into a territory, either north or south or east or west of Karula's, and she'll push up against Tandi to the south and east. She'll push up against Shadow to the south and west. She's already been squeezed. And to the north, she'll push up against Shiluva. And so she'll wedge herself in there, and the territories will move around. I suspect quite strongly that she's going to take the northern part of Djuma, because I think her mum has moved quite a lot into the south. Oh, wow, look at him, eh? His eyes have got more yellow, you know. They started off very slightly blue, and then they went very pale quickly. Right, Baron has managed to re-find the male lion. I'm not sure about those buffaloes, so let's go and find out if he has eaten and where what he has eaten is.
So, James, it does look like this male has fed, and everyone, he's just moved a little bit away from this pan, but he's still very close. He just went and lay down and is resting a little bit now. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to listen. I don't hear any other lions in the area at the moment, but I do think if we're lucky, he's going to take us to the rest of the pride. It looks like he has fed a little bit. Remember, just before I left you, just now. Oh, listen, everybody, you might recall. Listen. Listen, here we go, here we go. Fantastic. That was incredible, everyone. Really, really wonderful. Now that male again is roaring to find out where the rest of the pride is, but no one seems to be answering him. But that roar, and you could hear it back home, is just absolutely incredible. But it's hard to describe the feeling when you are this close to a lion when he's roaring. I mean, I could feel the vibrations a little bit in the vehicle. You can feel that deep, deep sound resonating through here. It is just absolutely amazing, and it's by far my favorite sound in the bush. To be able to sit this close to these magnificent beasts and hear them call and roar, and you see the effort that they put into it. Their whole body tenses when they are roaring. It's just incredible. It's hard to actually describe. I wonder where. So as I was saying, it looked like there was a bit of reddish coloration around this male's chin, or under his chin. So I'm not sure if he did feed on something last night. I think so. It did look like it. Maybe there was a bit of blood left around there, but the thing is, judging by where he came from and where he's heading to, I mean, he came from the quarantine clearings, which are in the opposite direction to this. And then he came all the way through, and it sounded like he'd been looking for these lions because he'd been calling. And he went to Juma Dam, drank, and now he's come up to this side, into this area. And this is, I think, where the lions were yesterday. They were in this drainage line somewhere. Taylor found them. So I'm sure if we're lucky, he will eventually lead us to the rest of the pride. Michael, you say even sitting at home, every time you hear this, it sends chills down your spine. It does. And I must be honest. For me, it's a very emotional sound, and I don't know why. It just what's the best way to describe it? It just hits home with me every time I hear a male lion roar or lions roaring. And to get this close, I'll never forget the first time I really heard it. It brought tears to my eyes. It's just such an incredible sound, and to be able to experience it is amazing. So I know exactly what you mean, Michael, and what you're saying. And he really is a beautiful male. I've been fortunate enough to see a coalition of 4 big males just in the south of where we are now. So they kind of losing a bit of their territory now. They're called the Majingalan males. And these males were territorial and covered a huge territory within the central part of the Sabi Sands. And we got to see these Majingalan males, all 4 males, lying in a line about a meter apart from each other. They were all facing us, and we must have been about 30 meters away from them, just to give them a bit of space. And these lions roared together, facing us. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. All 4 big males roaring at the same time. Look at that, just cleaning himself. We're going to sit with him a little bit longer and just see if he is able to find the rest of the lions. James has got the queen, I believe.
Yes, we do have the Queen, everybody, and we're whispering because Her Majesty is asleep and we don't want to wake her up. I am, of course, talking nonsense. Her Majesty doesn't mind if I talk normally. She's very full of duiker, and she's got her nose resting up against a termite mound for a pillow, which is not very royal, of course. There you can see very clearly the wow spot pattern on her forehead. And you can also see the 4 spots on the right-hand side there that she's got. Her left, our right, just above her whiskers. 3 in a row, 1 small one up above. Almost exactly the opposite of what Shongile has on her right-hand side, our left. That is gorgeous, David. It's gorgeous. Now, Hosanna is eating just to the behind her, just into the drainage line there. Now, we use those spot patterns, of course, to identify leopards. That's kind of the convention. You use those ones just above the whisker pattern, above the whisker line, but you don't have to. You can use any of the markings, and many of our viewers, of course, have found some elephants shouting there. Many of our viewers have found different spot patterns to identify leopards extremely accurately, and one of which, of course, on Karula's is that wow that is written on her forehead. If you look carefully, you can see wow is written there. So Ellie's just over there. Nicole, I'm going to get to your question now, and that's Shongile with Karula. There's some elephants over there. Nicole, you want to know if leopards ever have identical spot patterns? Anyway, they do. Well, not identical, but they often have the same number. So, for example, what's a good example? Well, Hosanna is going to be a 3-3 male. I'm just trying to think of another 3-3 male. I can't think of another one, but they're around. But the arrangement of the spots is almost always different, Nicole. And then, of course, they live in totally different. Territories normally, and very nicely, Kirsten just reminded me that Quarantine is a 3-3 male as well. So, when the two of them are adults, they will both be 3-3 males, but the arrangements of those 3 spots on either side will be slightly different, and they will be in different territories. So it really it's not difficult to identify them. And Quarantine's a case in point where the viewers have noted 2 different spot patterns on him, other than those 3 spots above his whiskers. There's the landing strip up his back. He's got a very symmetrical arrangement of spots up his back, and then also he's got a sort of pound sign on his head, which I have stared at and failed to see, but everybody I know who looks at him tries to point it out to me. So he's got a pound sign on his head, and those won't change, of course, because as we know, David, as the adage goes, what is the adage, David?
I forget.
A leopard does not change its. There we are. Well done. Dustin, what a nice question from you. You say, do these termite mounds that the cats are on provide heat? Is that why they're lying on them? They do, but only... I suppose there could be a certain amount of heat, and just above Shongile there's an open chimney out of which there must be some metabolic heat coming. I don't think the surface would be particularly warm. I think let's say it might be slightly warm, so it may be a bit of an encouragement. But there are other reasons for them to be on the termite mound, and the one is that, of course, it's a vantage point, so Karula can look around here and see if there's any trouble coming. The second is that it's free of wet grass, and cats, big cats, just like small cats, try and stay dry as much as they can. And thirdly, with all of those little chimneys and things, they allow her to remain fairly well disguised if she wants to. If she puts her head down, she can hide behind them. So I think it's much more for security that she's on the termite mound and comfort than it is because of the heat. But it's certainly not impossible that she'd be seeking out the heat. Oh, right, Byron has got the quintessential sound of the African wild.
And the lion has just roared for us again, everyone. Really so special. He stood up, he's turned, he's now facing, well, he was facing us for a second, and he's just changed directions. You see how he's looking? He's constantly looking. He wants to find this pride. So it'll be interesting to see if he does. But look at that belly, everyone. He has fed. Look at that. It's huge. He has fed, and I think also that is why he was drinking so much water this morning. Usually these cats, after they fed on a lot of meat or on a big kill, they do get quite thirsty, and the reason is there's a lot of salt in the blood, so they do get thirsty, and I think that's exactly what's happened with this male. Oh, he's just gone and laid down there, everyone. I'm just going to move a little bit. Let's just see if we can get another view of him. But he just lay down behind those trees. So as I was saying, they do drink a lot of water after they've fed on something, because they will probably be quite thirsty. So that's why it looked like he drank twice there. Can you see that, Brian? All right. Let's make sure I don't block the other vehicles. So again, I really do not know where the rest of the pride is, or where the Nkuhuma pride is. They're possibly hanging around in a drainage line somewhere. I saw the tracks coming out of this area, but I couldn't gauge an exact direction of where they went. Rob, you want to know how far this roar can be heard from. Now, Rob, a big male lion like this on clear days, and where the sound carries a little bit more, probably up to about 10 kilometers. About 10 kilometers or so, which is really far. Now, the lions could possibly hear it from even further away, but I think we are able to hear it from up to 10 kilometers. If you do hear one or two males giving a proper full roar, and on a clear morning, you can hear it for quite a distance, which is really incredible. If you think if you think about it, that's immensely far. And that's also why occasionally it can be a bit tricky to really pinpoint where they're calling from if you do hear them on clear days. And winter, I find it very difficult. I was guiding in June, July, or July, August, and we'd hear lions calling, and we'd hear leopard calling, and just to gauge where it was coming from was so difficult. I found it very difficult. It also helps if you do know the area a bit better. You can know where the roads cross, where the junctions are, where the animals could possibly be moving, where the water is. Might make it a bit easier to pinpoint an area. But in winter, I do find it a lot harder to pinpoint where the calls are coming from. Amanda wants to know if they get a hairball from licking themselves and cleaning themselves like this. Amanda, I would expect so. I don't know, I've never seen a lion with a hairball before, like a domestic cat. But their tongues are very, very rough. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off a lot of hair when they are cleaning themselves. So possibly. Excuse me, everyone. I just want to chat to some guests there. It's tricky to get in. It's very thick. It's in a drainage line. To be honest, photographically, it was difficult yesterday. I wouldn't rush there here. Maybe go past and have a look, but it was difficult yesterday. Sure. Just giving the other vehicles some advice on the Karula sighting where James is. You know, we were there yesterday and we got to see them. Lovely sighting, but it was a bit difficult for vehicles to move around, and we're lucky we've got the camera that can focus on them. But for photographic safari with guests taking photos, it can sometimes be difficult. That belly is definitely full, everyone. This lion did feed on something. And Stephanie, you want to know, how do the trackers on the seats on the front of the vehicle, how are they, or how do they not get bothered or charged by animals and that? So Stephanie, you know what the thing is these animals definitely see that tracker sitting on the seat. I've seen it before. They walk past, they look up at the tracker, but I do think they associate him with the vehicle. So, and the animals are still a bit nervous of the vehicles. We need to remember that. So they won't necessarily just come up and try and jump on the vehicle. However, I know most lodges, and certainly when I'm guiding especially, if we do get into sightings with predators or certain animals, we actually get the tracker to come sit in the vehicle, and he'll just join me, he'll sit next to me. And the reason for that is not necessarily a safety issue, but I do think it does make a difference when there is a tracker sitting right on the front. Animals do react to him a little bit, which we don't want. So we'll get him to sit inside, and also from a photographic point of view, if the animals are moving around and walk in front of the vehicle, or you don't want the trackers in all your shots, just like you don't want the guide in all the shots. So when I'm guiding, and I know most lodges, they try to get the tracker inside. It all depends on the area. Other lodges don't do it. I prefer to get them in, to be honest. Peter, you want to know how these animals find each other, or these lions will find each other. Would they use a combination of the sound and smell? Definitely. Peter, their sense of smell is so good that they're able to pick up on the scent of the pride very, very easily if they're in the area or when they've been around. And that's exactly how they're able to find each other. So it would be the sound for one, and it's incredible. I've seen lions roar once or twice, and the other lions that they're looking for possibly to return the call once, and they walk 2-3 kilometers to that exact point where those other lions are. They know exactly where they are once they've heard them, which is fascinating. But they will definitely use both. Their sense of smell is incredible, so they would use the sound and the smell. Let me just reposition everyone. I might be able to get a slightly better view here. The other vehicle has moved off. With all the photographers on it, I think they got some really great shots. All right, let me just get another position. James is still with the leopards. Let's see what they're up to.
Are you hearing anything? Kirsty, we've lost you if we are live. Okay, we're live. Everybody, sorry about that. We're just having a little bit of trouble with the comms, but that's okay. We've got a leopard right here. We've moved back down here because the Queen is fast asleep, as is her daughter. And young Hosanna has settled into the serious business of having his breakfast. Doesn't that look delicious, David? Everybody loves a piece of soggy duiker flesh in the morning, especially if it's got some soggy hair on it. Delicious. The grey go-away bird next to us is agreeing. That's another one of Byron's good calls, of course, the grey go-away bird. It is an excellent rendition. And also in the background, the lovely summer sound of the Diedrich's cuckoo. Hosanna doesn't think much of my Diedrich's cuckoo call. Now, Lauren, a very good question, and it's specifically good because we're going into the lambing season. You say, do I think this cub could take down a small antelope? I think that he's big enough to take down a small antelope or a baby antelope. Do I think he has the skill yet? I'm going to say no, I don't think he probably does. I'm fairly convinced that by now, between Shongile and Hosanna, they've probably killed the odd bird. Certainly they would have eaten a lizard or two and the odd termite. But I think that possibly onto birds now. I think by the time, though, the lambing season comes, which is going to be in about, well, I mean, we're almost there, say 2 or 3 weeks, say a month or so into the lambing season, it's going to be a perfect time for these leopards to learn how to hunt small antelope. There are going to be lots and lots of baby impala around. They'll be just about at the age where they're able to start stalking and making kills. So maybe that lambing season will be a really good thing for them. But I don't think that they would have the requisite stalking skills just yet to take too many antelope. And should also not forget that he's getting lots of nice protein from those flies, isn't he? So you can see there his 3 spots above the whiskers, and very clearly getting bigger from front to back, but they're all quite big. And I know one of Quarantine's is almost invisible, it's so small. Melinda, you're wondering about milk teeth. And we get this question quite a lot. And as far as I'm aware, and I spoke to a vet about this the other day, all mammals get milk teeth and then permanent teeth. And so, yes, he does get milk teeth. They will be long gone by now. He's now 9 months old. I think you'll find that by 4 months they will have fallen out. And between round about the weaning time, you'll probably find that they were being replaced. Or just after weaning. So maybe around sort of 4 or 5 months, he would have got his big teeth. But they don't sort of wander around like human children do. I've always been amused by human children. You know, you see this very sort of, I don't know, good-looking child, and they then smile, and they've got half the teeth missing, and you don't have that sort of situation with cats or dogs. Their teeth kind of almost replace immediately. They don't have that toothless grin that the human being has. It's some time since I lost my teeth, David. Yeah, you'd think so. Mick 1011, there we go. Look at that hoisting. That's very mature of you. Hosanna. We'll just watch his tail and see what he does. I don't want to disturb him, and then we'll move up around. While we do that, Mick 1011, you're interested in whether or not there are bones just littering this landscape because of all the kills we've seen. Whoops, sorry about that. Mick 1011, no, there are not bones littering the landscape. Yes, there are bones around. Of course, we find them quite often. But bones decay. And especially in summertime when it's hot and there are bacteria and there's a lot of rain, they decay relatively quickly. They also get spread around a huge amount. So, I mean, these duiker bones will be completed. I mean, the leopards will eat most of them. Then the bigger ones, you'll find that a hyena could easily come past this area fairly soon, pick that up. A hyena would eat absolutely everything on that carcass there, so there would be nothing left at all if a hyena came past here. But you would expect, for example, to find elephant bones everywhere, and you just don't, because, I mean, well, elephants go off, of course, as we know, to the elephant graveyard. They don't really. But they go onto rivers normally when they get very old and they die there, and their bones eventually kind of get into thick bush and sometimes into the water. So we don't find a lot of elephant bones around. Yeah, it's interesting. Not a huge bone site. Okay, we're going to move forward. Let's try and pop out of the drainage line here. And while we do that, let's go and find out what the lion's doing with Baron.
And this lion is doing very little at the moment, everyone. He's laid down and he looks like he's not interested in moving. He gave one more call again, trying to find the pride, but still no answers. So I'm not sure where they have gone, where they disappeared to. Could possibly be in one of these drainage lines somewhere around here. But what I'd like to know is what he fed on last night. I mean, look at that belly. Gee, it's full. Very, very full. He's breathing quite heavily too. And it's also a sign that they're full.
All this time now, you try and get across here. It might, I don't think you're going to get this.
Shush, you want to know if a lion will ignore prey if they've got a full belly? No, not at all. I've seen lions feeding on a carcass. So they're busy feeding. Something's walked past and they jump up and try and hunt it. So they are so opportunistic. If something had to walk past or was close by, and we've seen it with the Nkuhuma pride. They've fed on a buffalo every day, just about for the last week. They even though they're full, they still hunt. The other day they had killed a buffalo not far from Juma Waterhole. Then one or two of them went down to drink, and there was a buffalo there, and they ran and they hunted and killed that one. And they finished both carcasses within 2 or 3 days, but it just shows you that even though they're full, they will still hunt. So they are very opportunistic because they don't know when the next meal is going to come. So if there's food around, they'll hunt and make sure there is some food for the pride to eat. Oh, this male looks very relaxed now. Couldn't find the rest of the pride or his brothers. And lions will often do that. So maybe the pride has got a kill somewhere, which we suspect. Maybe they've got a kill somewhere and they don't want to share. So they're keeping very quiet. So they don't have to share with this male, because if he does go in there, even though it's full, he may still want to feed a little bit. And as I've mentioned before, when these males come in and meet up with the pride again, even though those cubs are theirs, those females are still very protective. And the reason for that is these males get very aggressive when they are feeding. It's just instinct. It's, survival of the fittest. I must get some food. I must eat. And then if there's cubs around or females around, these males get aggressive, often hit them, or growl and bite each other. So at times the females are nervous when the males do enter back into the pride, and then eventually they'll calm down again. But just to make sure that there's no aggression and no danger towards the cubs. Look at those beautiful paws. Clay from Oregon, the lions and leopards do not actually get along at all. You wanted to know what the relationship is between these animals. So they do not get along. The lion is the apex predator around here, and the leopard is probably second or third down the hierarchy. And I say second or third because hyena around, at times they can be a little bit more dominant than in terms of the predator hierarchy than the leopards. Thanks for that, Brian. getting to know the anatomy of the lion.
Embarrassed.
No.
Embarrassed.
Oh dear, Brian. So, Clay, getting back to your question, if anything, the leopards, I mean, we know the leopards will avoid lions at all costs. And the reason for that is because if a lion bumps into a leopard and they come across one another in the bush, the lions will definitely attack the leopard and try and kill it, purely because it's another predator, it's competition, not for food. So it will possibly just try and kill it, just because it is another predator. Usually what the leopards will try to do is run away, and leopards are very powerful and very agile. I've seen footage of leopards defending themselves against lions and managing to do so, but what they'll probably choose to do is run up into a tree. If they're up in the tree, the lions can't get them. The leopards are incredibly agile and great climbers. These lions are not as good. So the leopard, if they can get into the tree, then it would be completely safe. I can hear a cuckoo, everyone. No, I think it's a bit far. That's a bit far. I was hoping to show you another cuckoo this morning. We're going to leave this line now, drive around and see what else we can find, maybe get another sign of the rest of the pride. While I do that, James is with the leopards. Let's see what they're up to.
Right, I believe we're live, everybody. Sorry, we are struggling a little bit with our comms today from the final control. But the leopards are now fast asleep. The male, I'm afraid, we can't get to. We can see where he's shaking a bush. There, he's down there shaking a bush. There he is. So I'm afraid we can't get to him at the moment, not without disturbing the queen. And we're not alone here, of course. We had the elephants earlier. There are also some zebra making their way towards us, which we will just have a quick look at to show you that we're surrounded by wildlife. They, of course, are in no danger from the leopards. The leopards are too small to take a big zebra like that. They might think about a very small foal, but I think you'll find that adult zebras are so vicious that she'd realize that there were easier things to find out here to eat. There we are. I think often people also don't understand the size of animals here, and many of you will be familiar with horses, of course, and some of you will be familiar with the difference between a horse and a pony, and the difference is that a horse is over 14 hands high, so no, in fact at 15 hands, and you'd call one of a zebra probably just slightly smaller than horse size, so probably about 14 hands and 3, if that means anything to you. So what do they stand? They probably stand about 5 feet at the wither. Let's go back to the leopards and their sweet repose. Hello, Wendy. You're wondering about the awful day, which we know will come, when Karula shakes off this mortal coil, pops her clogs, starts pushing up daisies. You're saying, what's going to happen to her body? Well, I think it will probably lie in state for about 2 weeks, after which there will be a funeral service in the Cathedral of Hoedspruit, and then she will be laid to rest in the royal tomb of Acornhoek Abbey. I'm, of course, talking absolute nonsense now. The thing is, you're asking if we think that she will be collected and then stuffed for all to see. It is my fervent hope that Karula will remain unstuffed for the duration of her expiration, if you like. What will happen, in all seriousness, is that it's unlikely we'll find her. I have never found if she dies of natural causes, if she just dies of old age or gets too weak to protect herself, she will normally go away to die. We've seen this with, I don't know if they'd go away to die necessarily, but you certainly see it with house cats, you see it with dogs, where they seek out privacy. And certainly the only other leopardess that I've known been around when she's shaken off this mortal coil, as it were, has been the 3/4 female of, look at this, Karula's provoking her daughter, it's so cool. And the 3/4 female down at Londolozi was 17, and she just disappeared. And so it's highly unlikely that if she dies of natural causes that we'll even find her. And I think that's such a nice way for them to just go quietly in privacy, unharassed, and they go off with dignity. So there will definitely be no stuffing of Karula's body if we do find it. She will probably just be left, which I think is that's where you want to be buried, really. The Cathedral of the Wild is the perfect tribute to the great Queen. I'd love to say that the term Cathedral of the Wild is mine, but I'm afraid it isn't. But I will use it liberally and eventually convince myself that it's my own. Michael, what a lovely opportunity for me to tell this story. Thank you for that. She's now going to have a little breakfast. Michael, you say, have I ever had guests that have been afraid of big cats? Michael, I'm reminded of a time where I was spending time with another 3/4 female, and that was the Clara female of Ngala, who I mentioned earlier. And she was, she could not have been more relaxed. She was probably even more relaxed than Karula is, if that's even possible. Oh, look at that wonderful shot there. And Michael, what... We found her one day in a drainage line, much like this, and I had 2 guests from Italy there. And I said, oh, look at the leopard, and, the leopard didn't react. It just kind of lay there in the sand. And I was waffling on about its great virtues, and, of course, being a young guide and not particularly good at my job, I didn't actually turn around to check how the guests were faring, just assuming that they would be as in awe of the sighting as I was. And eventually I turned around and I saw only one guest. And this was because Mrs., we'll call her Quattro Stagioni, for want of a better Italian surname, was lying on the ground of the Land Rover while her husband tried to comfort her. I also noticed a soft whimpering noise coming from beneath the seat, where she was convinced that the totally relaxed female leopard was going to jump up and eat her and Mr. Quattro Stagioni. Anyway, I don't think that they will come on safari again, but yes, it does happen from time to time. But it's very, you find, Michael, that guests take their cues from you, so they watch the guide very carefully, and if the guide starts to behave like he's in mortal danger, well, then they start to show fear, but otherwise they don't worry too much. That was the most obvious example that I can think of, but there have been plenty others. Not often with whimpering, though. Winter Prism, while that childish leopard moves off, you want to know if children are allowed to come on safari. They are. I never recommend that a child comes on safari before they're sort of 10 years old, because I think the experience is kind of lost on them. And of course, if you're on drive, it's not high action all the time. There's a lot of the small stuff that is, while it's very entertaining to you and I, a lot of kids find it a little boring. So I wouldn't bring a child on safari before they're 10. And we used to have a policy that no child on game drive, unless it was a private Land Rover with the family, before they were 6 years old. Simply because they do tend, kids make a noise, and that's absolutely fine that kids make a noise, but it does make the animals react, and especially predators. Predators will react to a mewling child. They can pick that weakness up immediately, and it's quite distressing to watch an animal with a child cries on the back of a car to sit up and look for the source of the kind of the crying and the weakness. And that's a little bit disturbing. Okay, we're going to move now and see if we can get another view of the leopards. course, elephants are still feeding off in the front of us there. The problem with them being on the side of this drainage line, of course, is that they go up and down. They're right back in it now. I think, given that where Ephraim's going, where's F going? I'm just going to wait to see where Ephraim goes, because there won't be space for both of us down there. We can go down the other side there. Yeah, I don't think he's going to try and get that big cruiser in there. We're very lucky in these little cars. That's the one advantage of these Land Rovers, of which there is inescapably few. Hello, Tina. You're wondering if leopards always have male and female cubs. Tina, they don't. They have both. Sometimes two females, sometimes two males. It's really completely 50-50 ratio. Okay. Ephraim says you go first because we can get all the way down to the bottom. He's not going to go all the way down. Except he's not going to see anything. We're not going to go down in, everybody. We're just going to pull in here. Just going to move out the way so that Ephraim can see nicely. You're right there, David.
Yep.
I'll try not to end us in much the same way that I thought we were going to end after the elephant. So I don't want to go down in there, everyone, because we'll be less than 2 feet from the leopard, and I think that will disturb them slightly. Here comes a little male from the side. Ngabon.
Yeah, good right.
Good right. Ephraim says he can see fine. That's good. So the little family, the royal family, everybody. Prince and princess. Playing with Piltiforum africanum, or the weeping bottle, which will shortly flower and produce thousands of marvellous insects for us to look at on bushwalk. I also smell a flower, don't you, David? Or is it your cologne this morning? It's a bit feminine for you. There's some kind of really delicious smelling bloom around here. It's a bit like jasmine. Isn't that fantastic? It's really not too difficult spending sort of extended periods with these cats, is it? I'm deeply confused as to where the rest of that pride of lions went, though, I must say. So I don't think that they will be here for the whole day. And that's because I think that they will probably finish this duiker fairly soon, and then they'll head off. Now, Peter in Orlando, you've asked a question or two that could take probably a number of researchers 7 years to answer. I'll try and give you the short version of it. The first thing you want to know about is intelligence. Are they intelligent? Well, as I've said before, I mean, it depends entirely on how you define intelligence. Are they more intelligent than lions? No, not necessarily. Lions are perfectly intelligent for what lions have to do. Lions obviously are not very good at complex calculus, but they're nor leopards. So when we talk about intelligence, we often talk about basically human intelligence, or the ability to approach sort of abstract thought, if you like. and those classic tests of testing if animals can recognize themselves in mirrors and that sort of thing. Leopards do show, apparently, now I only know this from a big cat trainer who I drove once, and he trained cats for movies, and he reckoned that leopards were approaching the intelligence of dolphins. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but he reckoned that they were extremely clever. That's a fairly gruesome sight. They're obviously not squeamish. So that's what this chap said, and I have no reason to doubt what he said. They train much more easily than many of the other cats. He said lions, however, 1 in 10 you could train, the rest were just totally gormless. Now, that doesn't mean that they're gormless at all. It just means that their lifestyles are not adapted or don't have to be the same way as the leopards. And I think that's probably got quite a lot to do with body size. And without trying to be sort of facetious, it's a bit like the big bully at school. He's often the most gormless fellow, while the little weedy fellow is quite often the guy in the top academic set. And I think that's quite similar out here. The smaller you are, the more you've got to rely on your brain to survive. And it's the same thing with human beings. We are physically absolutely useless compared with most of the animals out here, but our brains allow us to compensate for that. So I think you'll find that leopards probably are, on the whole, by human standards, cleverer than lions. Then you want to know why they are solitary versus a pride structure, which lions have. We think that lions are in prides for, well, the thought was in order to hunt. That was the original thought, that they used their numbers to hunt well. But the difficulty with that is that single lionesses will often eat as much as prides of 2 and 3 lionesses, and probably about the same as a pride of 4 lionesses. You know, they get the same amount to eat in total. So it actually doesn't hold a huge amount of water to say that, well, lions are in prides because it helps them to hunt well. I think they hunt well. I think that they are able to hunt as a team because they're in a pride. I don't think it's the other way around. It would seem that their pride structure has got quite a lot to do with protecting youngsters from infanticide, and that the pride structure and the way the males operate in coalitions has got a lot more to do with defending the cubs than it does to do with hunting. So that's quite interesting. I'm not sure that I buy that argument completely. I'm not sure that it isn't quite as simple as, well, they're enormous, and because they're big, they're obvious. And so they may as well live in a group. It provides safety from them. Oh, look at her. She's not happy with him. All right, everyone, I'm just going to quickly ask Kirsten to tell Byron there are wild dogs heading towards Sydney's dam. He's much closer than I am, so if that lion is still flat on the ground, I think he should head to Sydney's dam as fast as possible. So, Peter, in a long roundabout way, I hope that's kind of answered your question on the social structure and why they differ. But again, you know, there will be new research all the time that some people will agree with and some people won't. It seems slightly strange to me that lions would have evolved the sophisticated team hunting prowess, if you like, in the absence of it being an advantage to them. Now, the little male we found this morning, long before we found the rest of them, and he was about 50 meters or so from here, so about 150 feet. And that's quite a long way for him to be. He wasn't near the kill, so he was out exploring. Now, I said earlier that I thought she would go independent first, and I still maintain that. But he's clearly starting to wander. as he gets a little bit bigger than her. He's still much smaller than Karula, but he's much bigger than his sister now. And again, he's gone off. He's just below us here, exploring. You won't be able to see him, I don't think, Dave. And she's watching him. There's his mum. Gosh, imagine we get wild dogs as well today. Alright, I'm afraid the communication seemed to be very dodgy this morning. I think I heard we can link to Byron. So let's head across to Byron and find out if he's going to go to the wild dogs. If he doesn't, then we'll probably go as quickly as we can that way. Did you hear?
So, James, I got that update. Also heard that there are potentially wild dogs around. I've just got to Sydney's Dam. Just going to have a look and see. But it sounded like they were in a different area to what James heard, I think. I'm just having a look here. And listening out. I don't see anything here at the moment. Thought I heard something about Jacana Camp. Now, I'm actually not sure where Jacana Camp is. And they were heading south from there. I'm not sure if James knows, maybe. Maybe he does. But I don't see any sign of wild dog in this area, that's for sure. No alarm calls. Wouldn't that be exciting to see some wild dog? It really would be amazing. Don't know where they are. So let's just listen out. I'll see if we get another update on the radio. Nothing just yet. Let me just try to find out quickly. Able for Byron.
Byron, go ahead.
Morning, Abel. May I just get an update on the pack? Which area do you think they're heading into?
Yeah, from Jacana Camp, they head more southwest towards Harvey area. I'm going to the Camp Harvey to check. Otherwise, you can check Galago Shortcut or Bridge Road west, somewhere that area, because they from more south.
Okay, copy. I'm on the Buffalo cut line. I'll check this area carefully. Thank you.
Copy. I'll come from Harvey.
All right. So it just sounded like they were heading south towards us, basically in this area that we are in now. And you could hear Aubrey chatting to me there. So this is exciting. We're not far from the Gallagher shortcut and those roads that he mentioned. And Aubrey's. But it's so difficult at times, and if they cross a road, it'll be quick. So it might even be worth just finding a spot where we can see up and down the main road and see if they do cross. But let's have a look. Oh, if we find wild dog, that'll be great. That'll be very exciting. And then the trick is to try and stay with them. It's not easy. Keep your eyes peeled, Brian. Just another vehicle. Option. They're not interested in giving us an update. I don't think they saw any wild dogs, that's for sure. That's Gallagher shortcut over there. And I'm sure all of you are getting very excited too, just like I am. And I'm looking. And I take it you might be a new viewer. You'd like to know what a wild dog is. Well, it is exactly that. It is a wild dog. I'll show you a picture of one shortly. Okay, just gonna stop. Sorry, hang on. Let me just stop up here. We can see down the road and listen out for any alarm calls. Maybe we hear the wild dogs running around. So, okay, I play wild dogs are predators which we get in this area, and they are very rare and endangered. And I'll show you what they look like. There we go. The African wild dog. You see that? And they are completely part of the canine family. They are dogs, but they are usually pack animals. They are pack animals, large packs, they can get up to about 20 or 30. I've seen in some packs a lot of them, and they are persistent hunters, which means they run down their prey. They're very, very lean, and they're able to cover huge distances very, very quickly in a short space of time. They can cover up to about 10 kilometers in one morning easily. So that's what the African wild dog is. Very exciting predator to follow, because they do cover a lot of distance, and when they are running and hunting, it is incredible to watch and to see how they work together as a pack. I still don't hear anything, everyone.
East of Freeman's Catland, north of Jiga Road on the old Ndlela.
Okay, so it sounds like one of the other guys found the lions, and I actually had a theory, and I was mentioning it to Brian. And I said, even though that male lion was calling, maybe he wasn't necessarily looking for the pride, maybe looking for the other males. Remember I said both the calls can be used for both? So they can be used to locate a pride or the other males if they are patrolling their territory. So what has happened was that male was, I'm almost guaranteed, almost 100% certain, he was with the Nkuhuma Pride last night. They've just been found. They managed to kill another buffalo last night, but they're all the way down Philemon's Cutline. It's quite away from here, and that would explain why that male came through quarantine clearing, not far from the lodge. We heard him calling this morning, and he walked down from there and walked down to Juma Dam. So he had come from that kill. And I think what happened was he was just looking for perhaps one of the other brothers and just marking territory, calling to possibly keep out other lions. So we will get down there at some point, but we want to stay in this area for a little bit longer because it's exciting to know that the wild dogs are about. And as I said, I mean, they can jump out anywhere at any time. So I'm scanning very, very carefully. And just listen here.
Go ahead. Morning, how are you? Good in yourself. Very good. What you got there?
Look at the cloudy sky. Okay, I'm going to stick on this break a little bit longer and just see if we do have any sign of the wild dogs. While I do that, James is still with the leopard. Let's head back to him for a bit.
Jiga Road. Okay. Is that why you go border?
There seems to be a flurry of fly activity around here now. Hello everybody, sorry, we are live. I'm not copying the final control, but we are live. I was just saying to David that there are flies everywhere, and the reason for that is that Hosanna very kindly went to retrieve the stomach contents of the duiker, and he then brought it to within sort of, I don't know, about 10 feet of us, and then left it. And now the flies are very excited. And so there are flies everywhere. I'm not sure what's arrested her attention. I think it's probably a bird sitting in the tree above her. Or the zebra's moving past. It's actually the zebra. Look at this. Isn't this wonderful? That's him again, sorry. That's very cool. So he's really starting to wander. Oh, he's stalking something. You know what he's stalking? He's stalking the zebra, which is completely ridiculous, of course. But he's spotted them, and like any cat, he's thinking about, could he catch them? I've seen two young male leopards, sort of about, 6 months older than he is, stalking a rhino before. So they do like to just test themselves. He would get himself into a lot of trouble if those zebras saw him. His mum watches contentedly from behind. Where the sister's gone now? You see her, Dave? I was so captivated by this young male, and he's a very kind depositor of the morning haggis. Oh, there he goes. Look at him. How cool is this? I don't want to move, but I think I might have to. And now he's gone to sleep. So he's having a little sort of playful stalk there. He's not being serious about it at all, but he's seeing how close he can get. He's practicing that kind of stalk close to the ground with his shoulder blades stuck up and his head tucked in. And the zebra have no idea that he's there. What I'm going to do is just move slightly back. The queen is eating her breakfast. I don't know where young Shongalai has gone. He's moving, he's stalking them. Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to stop here. There we go. He's going to break cover now. He's now about 30 meters, so 100 feet from the zebra. Let me move once more. Sorry, everyone. I don't want to miss this if he does actually try something stupid, which will be very funny indeed. Look, look, look. He's still stalking. Let me get my head out of the way. Oh, sorry, there's a big stick in the way. There we go. I'll try and get you a view of all of them together. That's going to be classic. He's just behind the tree there. He's now 100 feet from them. There is one young zebra here. He's still much, much, much too big. You see him there, Dave? There you can see the zebra in the background. They have no idea that there's a little leopard watching them. Isn't this cool? He got himself into the perfect position. He thinks he's very, very clever at this stage. He also doesn't realize that if they happen to look this way and they see him move, the game will immediately be up, and this is how he will learn. He will also hopefully learn that stomach contents are not something that you want to put all over your face if you don't want flies on your face, that's why there's flies on him. Now there's no cover for him anymore, so he's it doesn't matter though. Here he goes again. Now, he has not thought this through. He's just doing what cats do. When they see things to stalk, they stalk them. And like I say, a zebra can be a tremendously vicious creature. He does not want to be knocking around in the open where he can't get up a tree or escape from them. Now, whether or not he knows that yet or not, I'm not sure. But he'll find out very quickly if he breaks cover now. This is wonderful. You can get sort of an idea there. We can't get both the one that he's looking at and him in picture. Because it's grazing past, what is it, Dave? Probably about, say 30 meters, 100 feet or so. That's the one he's closest to. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just look carefully. There now, he's feeling slightly foolish. No, that is a mare, it's not a stallion. Oh, this is spectacular. See him panting? That's because his belly's so full. Doesn't preclude his stalking, though. Now that zebra's moved out of line, and he will know that the zebra's backside is facing him and that its eyes are not. So it's quite possible that he will now try and break cover again and see what happens. Well, now the female's coming up behind us. Now, Honey's ocelot, you've asked a very, very good question, and there's quite a nice answer to it. You want to know why he wasn't stalking the guinea fowl. Yesterday, now, for those of you who weren't with us yesterday, we found them on the back end of some guinea fowl alarm calls. Now, the very fact the guinea fowls are alarm calling indicates that they had seen the leopards, and the leopards know when they've been seen. They know what the alarm call means. This is just too perfect. She's now stalking her brother, who does not know that she's there. How cool is this? Now the zebra's seen. You see the zebra run in the background there? He says, leave me alone, I'm stalking zebra. Now they're both there. That is fantastic. Now the zebra have seen them. Davey, just in front of us, you can see they're looking there. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm sorry, Honey's ocelot. When those guinea fowl, once they started alarming, what they did was they followed the leopards, shouting at them, and they stayed outside of the flight distance. So as soon as the leopards turned towards them, they moved away, and they know they can fly, of course, so the flight distance is much smaller than it would be. Stalking by nature means that the animal you're going after doesn't realize you're there. That's what stalking is. And so they couldn't stalk them. They did turn around, both of them, Shongile and Hosana, turned around to try and chase the guinea fowl. They stayed outside of the flight distance, and their mother called them. Both times they turned, I saw both of them do it, turn around, move towards the guinea fowl, and their mother called them as if to say, stop wasting your time. I've made you breakfast, let's go and get it. So that's why they didn't stalk the guinea fowl yesterday. There is, however, in addition to the zebra, David, there is a crested francolin not too far. Can you see it there on the ground? There it is. Moving closer towards them. They don't seem vaguely interested in it though. This is just fantastic. I'm just going to call on the radio. I've had the radio down. Oh, it's a beautiful shot. Any station making their way to Karula sighting?
Yeah, Sabi, can I join you?
Yeah, with pleasure, Andrew. Come through the drainage to the northern side. Now the male's given up. He's cleaning himself. His sister has ruined his hunt. She thinks it's all rather amusing. The zebra have seen that it's two little leopards that are stalking them. They're not vaguely concerned anymore. There they are, very happily grazing away. They're eating quite a lot of this baboon's tail, which is the dominant sort of that spiky, stubby plant that you can see on the ground. I'm just going to help Andrew into the sighting. Andrew, the female is in the drainage line. If you come past the back of me, you'll get the two youngsters to my right-hand side. This is brilliant. Oh, the Franklin now, Dave, is basically stalking us. It's right here. Why the leopards are not interested in that Franklin, I don't know. You may have heard the joyful squeals of delight from the back of Andrew's car there as they spotted the leopards. Now I take it that Byron, or not Byron, that those wild dogs probably have not crossed onto Djuma, which is extremely unkind of them. Still, we might be lucky, but later. In the background you can hear doves calling. Right, let's go and just get an update from Byron quickly and find out what's happening with the dogs. We're going to stay here for now and we might move out shortly.
So we've had no further updates of these wild dog, everyone. We did have a good look around, but no sign of them. We caught a brief glimpse of a hyena running across the road, and it looked like it was definitely going, or heard something, but it ran north across our boundary. But it was very, very quick. But nice to see a hyena. We haven't seen one for ages. So that was interesting, but no sign of the wild dog at all. So I'm not too sure where they disappeared to. It's always tricky when you get an update and someone says, well, we think they're heading in this direction, and they haven't actually got the wild dogs, because these animals do move huge distances and they don't stick to a general direction. They'll zigzag and they'll move all over the place. And they'll often just turn around and head straight back where they came from. But you never know. If there is any sign of them, they'll let us know. So let's see. What I'm doing now is I'm going to try and head towards that Nkahuma Pride. And, well, where it sounds like they were, with their buffalo kill, another buffalo kill. I'll try and work out exactly where they are. So a cool morning. You can see we've got our jackets on, and there's a very cool breeze. The temperature has dropped, which is lovely. It's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it because all that heat that we've had the last week or two, it's nice to have these cool mornings at times. See, I think it was this one, Brian. Let's see. They mentioned a road name, which is, I think, a new road name. So we shall see if we find them. Some brown-headed parrots which just took off, flew away. Did one land there now? Am I mistaken? I think, Brian, let's just see if we can see it. That fallen over tree. I thought I saw one. There's a dove that landed there, but I thought I caught a glimpse of one landing on there too. No. I can hear them still calling in that area, but I can't see them now. I think they've moved. No, possibly further back. Looked like it, but it was a dove that landed there. The parrots are still calling in that direction. Don't know if you can hear that. Got a parrot sound. I can't do that one. I really enjoy driving around like this and just scanning and not knowing what you're going to bump into. It's very exciting. A lot of doves around us. Cape turtle doves and laughing doves. I'm just scanning very, very carefully, everyone, while we're driving through here, because you never know what we could find. Brian wanted to see an aardvark this morning. That would be very, very interesting. And I said to him, I said, well, there's a possibility, because they do like to come out after the rains when the soil's a bit softer. A lot of termite activity. However, the aardvark are fairly nocturnal, or almost strictly nocturnal, so it's very difficult to see them, unless in other parts of South Africa we do have them. We do see them where in the Kalahari, where the temperatures are much colder. You get a lot more movement from these aardvarks in the late afternoon, which is very interesting, but they are very difficult to see, and they are quite shy animals. Okay, I'm going to carry on our search for the lions and just find out exactly where about they are, where they were found. And just before James leaves those leopards, let's get back to him and see what they're up to.
That waving about meant to be copied. Oh dear, you see, this thing's now not working. Right, we're live. Sorry, everybody. This is something very odd going on here. Anyway, luckily I have said no bad words today at all. Now, we're just going to wait for him to probably disappear into the drainage line, and then I think we may head out and see what else we can see. But not just yet, because I think he's heard something else down there. And so we're going to follow him. Actually, let's follow him. That termite mound in front of us is the original one where we were watching Karula earlier. So we'll just sneak around this side. He's disappeared. He's gone into the drainage. I see his mum. Can you see his mum, Davy? Yeah, I can actually. She's the same place she was. All right, let's try and go around this side. See if we don't get lucky getting into the drainage line this way. If you are asking questions and they're not being answered, everyone, I'm sorry about that. It is simply because we are at the moment struggling to talk to each other, Kirsten and I. I don't know where he's gone. There she is. She's eating down there. We can get a view from here. Let's go down. Sorry about the noise. Davey, you're going to have to watch out for this marula tree, that it doesn't decapitate you. It has no thorns on it. Oh, these brakes. Now, Aqua, as we attempt to not deafen ourselves with the brakes and move this marula tree out of the way, are you going to make it? You want to know how many litters I think Karula's got left in her. I think probably one more after this, if she raises these ones to independence. Now, what I mean by that is if they don't make it to independence, which is highly unlikely, I think they will make it, but if they don't, let's say they were taken out today by a nasty lioness or some vicious hyenas, what you would find is that she'd come into estrus almost straight away. Then she could have another 2 or so. But I think she will only come into estrus again when she's probably 13 and a half, when these 2 are gone. And for her to have another litter then, by the time they leave, she'll be 15. And I think it'd be highly unlikely that she'd have another one.
Okay. I'm sure I'm having talked to you on hotline.
That's quite a nice view there, actually. Right, so we've got, I think that's Shongile. The male is off to the left, Hosanna, and then Mum is way behind there. You can just see her spots behind the tree there. You see them, David? Center screen, there she is. Oh, that's him. See, look at that little kind of territorial rubbing of the head against the tree. It's not territorial, but it will turn into territorial behavior when he's old enough. Right now, he's just doing it because he knows that somehow something in his genetics is telling him to do it. He's a lot more active than she is, I must say. She's very sensible now. She's just having her food. Do you think she's a bit of a geek, Dave? Do you think she's the geek of the leopard cubs? He's like the cool kid. Beautiful. Kirsten, I'm going to turn my telephone on so that if you need to communicate with me, I would suggest you do it like that. And then we're going to head out from here, see what else we can see for the last little while of the drive. We've got about just under an hour left. Unfortunately, I don't actually think we have any form of... we don't have cell phone signal either. So I'll just have to guess. If we lose sight of these leopards, then we're going to leave. It's very awkward doing this silent. What we'll do, Kirsten, is wait another 5 minutes and then we'll head out. You've got signal. Okay, you can send David a message if you need to, Kirsten. There we go. I'm now getting comms from the final control. She's very sensible. She's not playing with her food. She's eating nicely. He is wandering about, wassailing through the bush. I do enjoy the word wassail, don't you, David? Yes.
What does it mean?
To wassail. And to wassail, I think it means to basically engage in frivolous behavior. Often helped by various substances. Now, while we are leaving here and Shongila is wassailing, at least Hosanna is wassailing around the place, let's head. He's just brought, oh, that's very delicious. He's just brought his haggis, his morning haggis, down towards that tambuti tree. Let's head towards Byron. He's going towards the lions. We're going to head out of here, say goodbye to these chaps. We'll probably come back in the afternoon and see if they're still around, but we bid them a fond farewell with gratefulness for the time that they've shared with us today.
James, that seemed like quite a long goodbye, but thank you. We have found the lions, everyone. Well, we've got into the sighting where they are. And look, another buffalo. It looks like the whole pride is here. And it's very interesting. It doesn't look like much of that buffalo has been fed on, actually. But look at this. It's amazing. So I wonder if that male didn't come from this side. I think he did. And let's have a look off to the right, Brian. Sorry, I just saw these cubs now. They were just holding this tree and stretching their claws. Let's see if they try and climb up again. Oh, these cubs are wonderful. So I wonder if that, I'm pretty sure that male must have been in this area because he looked really full. But like I said, it really doesn't look like much of this buffalo has been fed on. I couldn't really see on the other side, so maybe he did feed a bit and decided to move off. Although I think they've been looking full the last week or so because of all the food that they've eaten. Bob and Laura wanted to know about the black markings behind the lion's ears, and you can see that clearly now. And you want to know, what is that for? Is it to protect their ears against the sun? No, it is not. So Bob and Laura, that is there specifically for lions to be able to follow each other. So the theory is that it's a markings to allow them to follow one another when they are moving through thickets and moving around and through long grass, so they can see, especially when they're hunting, so they can communicate without making a sound. They can see where one another are going. The other thing is it is considered, well, they use it as what is the correct word now? Give me a second. I stand to correction, but I think the correct term is agnostic behavior, and that is aggressive behavior. So, if I show you quickly. So, what happens is, say for example, we were doing a bush walk, and we walked along and we bumped into these lions. For them to show that they are aggressive, and obviously they will start growling, but also what they do is they pin their bodies down, and they turn those ears, and they put those ears flat against their head, and they growl and they snarl, and those black markings then become very clear when they're looking at you. So it's a sign of aggression, and that's what agnostic behavior means. It's a sign of aggression. Again, I want to double check myself with that word, but I think I'm right. So it's basically to show aggression and for them to follow each other when they are walking. That's what those black markings are for. And you see, they probably started to feed on the rump area of that buffalo because that's where all the soft meat is, easy to get in there. Oh, there is a big elephant around here, everyone. I saw his tracks, and I can hear him at the moment. He's off to our left. I can't see him, but I can just hear branches breaking. They're probably about 100 to 150 meters away from us. If he does come into view, we'll show him to you. He's doing some damage to the trees. Oh, I can hear the grey go-away birds calling, go away, go away. Very strange sound. And I just saw an eagle fly behind us, and that's exactly what they were alarm calling at. It sat down. Let me see. It was an African hawk eagle, everyone. I just saw it. It's a bit far and behind some trees for Brian now, so I don't think he'll be able to show you. And that's what caused those birds to alarm call. These hawk eagles do hunt other birds, especially francolins and guinea fowl. But the grey go-away birds are always keen to alarm call if there's a predator around. Look how that lioness is licking that buffalo, everyone. Do you see that? Now, they've got very, very rough tongues. And it almost looks barbed. If you're able to really zoom in on that tongue, it's got little fine hairs on it. It's very, very rough. And they'll lick to maybe get rid of some of the hair, or even open the carcass a little bit, pull the skin back, and then they'll feed on it some more. So you're going to sit with these lions for a while. I think these cubs are still feeding with the females, so we should get some activity here for a bit. And while I do that, we mentioned an elephant. Oh, look at that cub just jumping straight over the buffalo. Mentioned an elephant, and James has got one to show you.
We've just come in time, everybody. There's an elephant about to push that tree over. We've been hearing them snapping things around the cub sighting for a long time. And this chap is now standing on a combretum bush. There we go. He's not an insubstantial elephant bull. He's bigger than the other one we saw. The other one we saw is just behind us. This chap is probably, I would say, a good 5-6 years older than that one, maybe even as much as 10. And he's creating a little clearing by destroying first a combretum bush, and now he seems to be having at a black monkey thorn. This is just astounding. The strength involved in that is phenomenal. And if you're wondering where we are, certainly before I got here, there was a hyena den right in this area, on the corner between Cheetah Cut Line on the far east and the Singapore Noodle stand on the southern boundary. That's where we are, southeastern corner of Djuma. And what this elephant's going for, everybody, is roots. They love combretum roots in the same way that Connor Teagues, our engineer, likes carrots. Same sort of principle, I imagine. There you go, he's just snapping off the smaller ones. We'll sneak a little bit closer to him. I don't want to create a situation where he feels we're disturbing him. And as we know, that either results in them moving away or moving towards you rather quickly, neither of which is preferable. I think we'll get a nice view here. How's that, Davey? There we go. See, just picking up a nice piece of root there. The foot is amazingly dexterous for something that seemingly is such an almost blunt weapon, if you know what I mean. God, and the strength there. Now, many of you will have watched us with that, what we call the half-trunk herd or short-trunk herd, with that cow who's lost the bottom third of her trunk. Imagine how difficult it is for her to do this sort of thing. It means a whole sort of suite of food that's available to other elephants simply isn't available to her. Although he has decided that that particular carrot is not very delicious, so he's left it alone. Now this is where the old hyena den was, in this termite mound where he's now standing. Do not pull that tree over. That's marvelous. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, in Morning Glory, much like me, you say the power of these elephants never ceases to amaze you, never ceases to amaze me either. Now, what he's doing is he's sampling a gymnosporia tree or a spike thorn and deciding that he doesn't like it very much. He was kind of smelling it, tasting it, testing it, but he's also doing that and watching us at the same time. So there's definitely an interaction going on here between he and us. And he ceased his feeding to give us a bit of an assessment. And now he's heading off to join his mate. What a marvelous sighting. Good. Let's carry on, see what else we can see if our luck holds. It has been profoundly marvelous today. Minjani Kuala. Oh, Swatikum Sabi. He was just telling me, everybody, that I've picked up a very large tree underneath the car, which we will have to remove at some stage when we're a bit further away from the elephants. The burrow's just here. All right, there's apparently an old aardvark burrow here. We'll have a quick look to see if anything's here. There isn't anything here. So while we're waiting to see if an aardvark comes out, let's head straight across to Byron and the Nkuhuma Pride.
There's a lot of activity here, everyone. The cubs are jumping around, trying to feed on a bit of meat, and the one lioness is getting very agitated with him. They're growling, and there's been a lot of noises coming from them. Hopefully they'll do that again while you're watching. Annie, all the way from British Columbia, wants to know if these cats apply more pressure when they're licking the skin of these buffalo to try and get have a look at that cub, everyone. Let's see, there we go. Oh, listen to that. So Annie just wanted to know, do I think they apply more pressure when licking the skin of an animal like this, trying to open up, get rid of some of that hair, and pull the skin back, as opposed to when they are grooming one another? I'm not sure, Annie, I'm not sure, but it would make sense. It would make sense that they do apply a bit more pressure when trying to lick and clean a carcass like this, as opposed to just when they're grooming themselves. But I think those tongues are so rough. So, I think either one could is probably just as much pressure. But I do think if they're licking a certain spot for a long time, they'll start pulling off the skin and the hair. Oh, look at that little one. Some remains of blood on it, just from feeding, and that will all get cleaned off. At some point, the lionesses, the other cubs will clean each other. The lionesses will clean the cubs, and they'll clean themselves very, very well. But isn't this amazing? Look at them feeding. Wow, this is great. Really is incredible. That little cub, I think, is going to get himself into some trouble, or herself. Trying to stick its head in the... Oh, there you see, just a little Listen to those sounds, everyone. It's my lion cub impression. Can you see there? Look where she's licking. It has become a lot smoother there. See that? Pulling that skin off completely, or the hair. Look there. Wow. That is amazing. Now you can see it clearly. She's trying to open some of that skin, but with her licking there constantly, she pulls it off. And look at how she's chewing. She's now using what we call a carnassial shear, and you can actually hear her crunching. So the carnassial shear is that the side of her mouth, the back teeth, molars and the premolars, actually end in a sharpened edge, and they overlap each other slightly. If you look at a predator's skull, you can see that clearly with those teeth. And they'll use the front teeth to tear open the carcass, but when she does want to chew, cut and tear the meat off, she'll use the side of her mouth. And watch when she does it, everyone. You'll see, I'm sure she'll do it again, and she'll use the side where, obviously that's where the power is. A strong, powerful jaws. She will feed on them, or feed on the carcass and tear the meat with that carnassial shear. Looks like that little cub's almost trying to fall asleep on the buffalo. Still sticking its head in the way of the mother. It's taking chances. Or the female rather, not sure if it is the mother of this cub. There, look, you see? Chewing with the side of her mouth. Do you see that, everyone? And you can hear her crunching away there. So she'll tear with the front teeth. Again, this cub in the way. Watch her, might get a little growl. Just a little warning. Nothing. She's going to bite the cub if she's not careful, or if that cub's not careful. Look at that. I don't know what it wants. Why doesn't it just go around and feed where the other cub is? A little growl. It's incredible just to hear the sounds that these lions make when they are feeding. Trying to see around the back if I can see how much of this buffalo has been fed on. Can't really see that rump area. It doesn't look like a lot of it's been eaten, but these buffalo are infested with ticks. It looks like it. There are ticks all over. You see there, look at all those ticks. So, it fell off completely. Oh dear. Jam, I'm sorry, we're not meant to laugh at the little cub. But that was quite funny, you must admit. As the lioness pulled the carcass, it wasn't concentrating and rolled off. But it's back up there. You can imagine how powerful those jaws are of these lions. Very, very powerful. Able to chew through the tough skin of the buffalo and get to the meat. Justin wants to know how many licks does it take for a lion to get to the center of the buffalo. So it's 6, Justin. I'm joking. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But if you look, that lioness she's licked three or 4 times in that one spot, and you can see how bare it is already. So I'm not sure. I think if they lick one area constantly, probably 5 to 10 licks, and they'll probably get to the meat. They probably open up the carcass, I think, but I'm not entirely sure. I've not been licked by a lion, so I don't know how tough or rough that tongue is. I don't want to be licked by a lion, but you can definitely see it working on that little section that she is licking there. This is really wonderful because there's a lot of interaction going on here, and it's just fantastic just to watch and appreciate the sighting. Don't really have to say too much here because everything's going on, and you can watch what they're doing, watch them feeding, and listen to the sounds. Listen. Some more cubs moving in there. As I said, we're going to sit here for a while, everyone, so don't worry. Not going to miss anything if anything else changes. While I do that, let's head back to James and see if he's pushed over any trees for himself.
Some bizarre thing to say. Why would I be pushing over trees for myself, Byron, you gormless cretin? That's what I used to call Byron when we were training, everyone. That's why he's such a well-balanced human being today, because I took him down a peg or two. It was a dung beetle, and it is my abiding desire to catch one in one hand while we're live. Pluck it out of the air like a slip fielder. Oh, I see. Byron was trying to relate David, if you look just to the right-hand side here, you'll see... Very nice. That's not the reason I stopped, though. I stopped because I heard some Franklin's alarm calling. You can hear one going there. Go, go, go. It's not a very panicked Franklin. Anyway, we're just about at Buffelshoek Dam. Sorry, everybody. The reason Byron wondered if I'd pushed over trees, that he was linking to our elephant sighting, which we had before. I wouldn't say that it was his best link ever, but it was an attempt. Well done. Good. There is also a very strong smell of burning around the car now, and you will have noticed that there is no squeaking of the brakes anymore. Yes, and that's because we've burnt them, and so that's good. Now, let's see what's going on at the waterhole here. It's possible that Franklin was alarm calling at a predator that was coming towards the water, or moving away from the water. And we're hoping to go up onto the Buffelshoek Dam, not Buffelshoek Cut Line, and see if we aren't very lucky with those wild dogs that Byron was looking for earlier. Lots of impala here having a drink at the Buffelshoek Dam. There we are. Beautiful. I must just say, while we sit here and enjoy this sighting of the aerial there, very nice, David, that's a beautiful shot of our antenna. I must just say that when I talk about training Byron, there's actually very little to teach the man. He's certainly one of the most naturally gifted guides I've ever met, even though he comes from the south of Johannesburg, which of course is an enormous disadvantage to anybody. Now, the males, yeah, I tell you, the impala have not put on condition as quickly as I thought they would. I think the elephants have put on condition very fast, but the rest of the animals really don't seem to have taken as much of an advantage of the early rains that I would have expected. Look at how his hips are sticking out. There is, of course, also the possibility that there is some kind of disease that's taken hold because of the trying times, and certainly that's why I think there's mange around at the moment. But time will tell. And this, of course, to try and link to what Byron was doing earlier, is the kind of place that the dogs would come. They often focus on water because they know there are often animals around the water. Davey, do you think that's not mange on his neck, is it? I think it is. It is definitely. That's why he's looking so hippie. Yeah, in fact, well, neither of them look particularly healthy. So not just the lions, everybody. It's into the impala. We've certainly seen the odd duiker and steenbok looking a bit mangy. Okay, that's it from Buffelshoek Dam. Let's carry on from here. We're going to go onto the boundary and then head off in a westerly direction and just see if we aren't very lucky with those dogs. Whether we'll be able to get past the inimitable taxon who's on the wall here, well, I'm not sure. We'll have to use the low road, David. Taxon took the high road. In the meantime, while we take the low road, let's go the high road, back to Byron Serrao and his lions.
We're still sitting with the Nkuhuma Pride, everyone, and there's still a lot of feeding activity on this buffalo. Have a look there, these cubs with the lioness. I wonder if these cubs will ever, if they're ever going to be disappointed with the meal when they get something other than buffalo. If it's an impala or a warthog, I'm probably going to say, well, this is not what we're used to. Where's the beef? Madeline from New Mexico wants to know if those ticks possibly jump off the carcass at times and jump onto the lions. So Madeline, it's almost a guarantee. I'm sure that some of those ticks move off the carcass onto the lions, but the lions do clean themselves regularly, so they probably manage to get those ticks off them, not like the buffalo. And we've seen ticks on lions, so the chances, you would think that those ticks do come off the buffalo and onto the lions. And I also think these lions sometimes eat some of those ticks because they sit on that carcass. And they chew around there, and they're most likely chew. Oh, gee, see that little cub took a bite at the mother. That's brave. So just speaking about the ticks again, so I wouldn't be surprised if they eat some of these ticks. They chew on them with all the meat. Now, just with that situation right there, we've spoken about it a little bit. Look at that. Watch that, isn't that incredible? Okay, now we spoke about this earlier, and now that is one of the mothers. Okay, and she, I mean, look how aggressive she is being towards these cubs. She's being very stern. She's not really hurting them, but she is being aggressive. She's growling. She's smacking them a little bit because they are getting in her way. Now that is the mother doing that. Imagine one of those big males, the Birmingham males, if they are feeding. If those little cubs were around, they would get a serious hiding or beating from those males. Look how those cubs are clawing at one another. So this is why. Listen to those sounds, incredible. So this is why I say, lions, doesn't matter if they're in the pride, out the pride, brothers, sisters, fathers, daughters, whoever, the aggression around a kill is very, very clear. It's survival of the fittest. They all want the best bit of meat. And look at this behavior. You can see it clearly. It really is incredible. And that's why I say these females are always nervous when these males come in, especially when they've got a kill. And they'll often take the cubs away a little bit until the male starts to relax, because when they get in, they're hyped up, they're excited, there's now food, and they get very aggressive around a kill. And that's why you see all the scarring around these animals' faces, because they often paw and claw one another, bite one another, trying to get the best piece of meat. I'm so glad you actually got to see that interaction, because it is something we mention occasionally, and you don't often see it unless you are at a kill when they're all feeding. Then you do see it, and it's even more clear when you have a pride that haven't eaten for a few days, and they manage to kill something, especially if it's a small kill like an impala or a small antelope. An inyala or a kudu, with a pride like this, they'd probably get very aggressive if they hadn't eaten for a while, because now they all want this meat. Look at those sharp claws of the cubs just under the neck of that female, holding onto the carcass while it's trying to feed. It's incredible. Some of those sounds are coming from those little cubs. It's amazing how they can growl at an early age. Listen to them. That is impressive. Oh, the sounds at the moment are just incredible. I'm just going to sit here. I don't have to say anything. I find it fascinating, the sounds that those little cubs can make from this young age. Is that Taylor's favourite little cub, the one with the floppy ear? The one on the buffalo, I think so. Yes, Flip-Flop. It looks like it is Flip-Flop. I actually didn't tell Taylor that I'd named the cub for her. I wonder what she thinks about that. So Taylor is sitting in FC and she says it's a wonderful name. You see, Taylor can say what she wants in FC, but I'm the one that's live, so I can decide what I want to say. Oh, look how powerful that lioness is, everyone. Look how she's able, I mean, the cub's holding on and she's still pulling that carcass and moving it too. Lions are incredibly powerful animals. There are two cubs on the other side that are really having a go at one another. They're getting very aggressive. Wow, look at some paws being thrown around, scratching. Really, really amazing. Watching the other vehicle trying to get out of here too. It's not that easy when you've got a vehicle full of guests and trying to maneuver through the bush. That little one at the back there, and you can just see the forehead and the eyes. It is incredibly aggressive. It keeps growling and swiping and trying to bite the other cubs and the female. There's the one there too. Well, everyone, it's very hard to top a lion sighting like this because of all this activity and the sounds and the interaction between these lions. It really is very, very special. Glad you all able to watch it with us. Yeah, I just heard the vehicle breaking some branches as it drove out, so they all stopped to listen and just have a look. Seem to be breathing quite heavily there. Oh, again, a few swipes at one another. Okay, we're going to sit with these lions right till the end, everyone. Let's head back to my dear friend James and see what he has found for you or what he is up to.
What a bald eagle, everybody. out of its range by some, I don't know, 10,000 miles. No, it's a fish eagle, of course. That's just me being absolutely hilarious. Why aren't you laughing, David? There we go. What is fascinating here? Well, obviously that's a fish eagle, and it's sitting next to some red-billed buffalo weaver's nests. Try and say that before breakfast. A red-billed buffalo weaver nest. Try and say it, David.
Red-billed buffalo.
You see, I knew you couldn't do it. Try again.
Red-billed buffalo.
You see, red-billed. Okay, and the other interesting thing here is as David zooms out slowly, I think it's fascinating that this dam has not filled with water at all as a result of our rain. And it's not fed by a drainage line. It's not fed by a large river. And it's now mud. And I imagine the old situation of flailing catfish is about to play out again. So that's quite interesting. Despite all the rain we've had, that vast waterhole, which was just made even vaster, is now but a puddle. Anyway, that'll be why the fish eagle's there. He'll be very pleased to eat some rotting catfish flesh. Try and say catfish flesh. Well done, David. He did it, everyone. He did it quietly, though, so that you wouldn't hear him. You wouldn't hear him. Yes, that's right. And then also some zebra. There you can see the red-billed buffalo weavers. Those are the blackbirds there. I was hoping to find the wild dogs here. We got an update from Abel saying that when he left them, they were going down towards this waterhole, but I haven't seen hide nor hair of them. What is that on the wall? There is an Egyptian goose on the wall, but that's about all, and some zebra moving away after what must have been a fairly muddy morning coffee. Byron was talking earlier about some brown-headed parrots, which he probably heard calling. They're calling again, and I was hoping... Oh, there they are, Davy. They're in the... that's the scraggly, multi-stemmed bush there. There's a brown-headed parrot to the left-hand side. That's it. Just zoom in there. You got it. There it is, everyone. There is the great brown-headed parrot whose most obvious feature is, David? Negative, his green back. Why, therefore, it isn't called the green-backed parrot, nobody knows. And he's eating... Oh, look at that. He's taking the seeds out of this russet bush willow tree. And he's eating the seeds. Well, those are apparently a little bit toxic to human beings. But you can see him taking them off with his beak, then putting them into his foot, and then sort of taking out the bits that he wants. Isn't that cool? Much like many of the birds here, you know, we often hear them, but they don't sit for a great deal of time. I think there's some others on the top of the tree there, Davy. No, those are doves. Find them. Those are laughing doves. Very cool. And they will probably rather be eating the buds. You see there are fresh buds there, flowers. They'll probably be going for those rather than the fruits, like the parrot. Good. Well, no wild dogs, but a very productive little time at Sydney's Dam. We're going to turn around now and head down Sandy Patch towards... Well, Sandy Patch is towards home, really. But it's an open area where there may well be some wild dog prey. And because of the rain and the hardness of this road, it's possible that a small pack of 3 could easily have just nipped across without my seeing the tracks. But I don't think they did. I think they're probably still on Biffle's Hook. So we'll just pop through here and see what's going on. And Davey, if you don't mind panning over here, it has got green, but Wouldn't be surprised if this area of the reserve has had slightly less rain than some of the others, say around where we were with Karula earlier today. And it is that isolated, the rain, often. But it is greener. You can see the sodic area, very sodium-rich soils producing some nice green shoots, which will be very, very handy for the animals that come grazing along here. And of course favoured hunting ground for coursing hunters like wild dogs and cheetah, although I've never seen a cheetah here. I think you'll probably find that cheetah avoid this particular area because it does tend to be a fairly it's concentrated activity of lions and hyenas. Kirsten, I'm afraid I missed that. Oh. I don't know why I picked those. I picked them, but then I don't really know why I picked them. They're guarri bushes, everybody, guarri leaves. But I don't actually have anything to tell you about them because most of you will know what they are. And the leaves themselves, other than being a really poor breakfast, are not good. On the subject of breakfast, we're going to head back for our breakfast now and hand you over to Byron and the Lions for the last few minutes. Thank you for coming on Drive with us this morning. I had a marvellous time. We had great luck, and that always, of course, makes the drive nice, and some great questions and discussions from all of you. So thank you very much. We'll see you this afternoon at 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock, and from David and myself, goodbye.
These lions are still having their breakfast, James. And James is going to head back to the lodge, as he said, and start making my cup of coffee. Don't forget, James, stir anti-clockwise, please. It's really been so wonderful to see all the interaction with these cubs, everyone in this lioness feeding. And you can see, actually, just off to the left, there is that lioness cleaning one of the cubs. Remember, we spoke about it. I just said that the lions were covered in blood, and you will probably see them cleaning one another, and the lionesses especially cleaning the little cubs. And that's what she's doing there. And you see, she's probably finding little ticks and picking the ticks off. So a lot of cleaning and grooming going on now while they are feeding. James, you were saying it this morning was a great way to see the difference between how leopard families and lion families, or the pride of lions and a leopard family, share their kill. It's very interesting. Now, I'm assuming, I don't exactly know what happened this morning at the kill with the leopards, but I'm assuming that they took turns to feed separately, and that is usually... So Kirsten has just confirmed that for me. That is usually how leopards feed. They'll feed one at a time and then move off once the kill's finished. Whereas lions, we can see they all feed together, and so it is interesting. They are very different, James, and well spotted, and a nice comment about the difference between these different predators and their behavior when they are feeding. It's very interesting, and it's interesting to notice some of that. So we're starting to run out of time, everyone, but these lions, I am assuming, are probably going to be here for the rest of the day. There's a possibility they may go look for water. We've seen the Sunkuhuma pride moving randomly during the day, but I do think it's still, for the moment, it's still very cool. so they're happy to lie out in the open. But if the day does warm up, they'll probably go and look for some shade. There are some nice big trees around, so there is shade for these animals. But what a fantastic morning. Great to see that big male and hear him roar, following him around, and then to find the pride with their kill, another buffalo. I'm going to say goodbye to all of you, and so from myself, Byron, and Brian on camera this morning, a big thank you to all of you for watching and joining us. Thank you to Kirsty and Lou in the FC, and of course thank you to James and Dave on the other vehicle. We will see you all this afternoon for our sunset safari, and we will possibly come back to these lions and maybe head back to Karula and see what is happening. Have a wonderful day. Good night, goodbye, and we'll see you all soon. Bye bye everyone.